Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Historical Commission meeting. It's Tuesday, July 28th at 6 o'clock. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. Patty Riga. Connie Soul.
Richard Mancini.
Kristen Cantera Olivera. So we are missing three. We're missing Ruben Amaral, we're missing Joyce Rodricks, and we are missing Larry Dykes. Okay. Did you
Yeah,
wanna-
all right,
okay.
good. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Dwight, the representative of the Ace property, to make his presentation.
I second
Okay.
that
All
motion.
right, take a motion to do
Motion and
it?
a-
Good,
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
okay, good.
Okay, motion carries.
Right.
If you want to have a seat, I think you ladies have to bring your microphones down, because I think they're more sensitive than what they were.
I'm Dwight Sylvia. This is Jack Lennon and John Lennon, not the same Beatle you think you might is. He's not one of the Beatles, so let's get that out of the way right now.
In the flesh.
Okay,
I own the property at 140 8th Street, which was the Sagamore One Mill.
okay. I think you may need to speak into the mic a little bit, just because I'm not sure how sensitive these are.
Okay, I know with that fan, it might be a little loud. I
Okay.
had trouble hearing you when I was sitting over there. Is this on? There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not good with this.
He's doing great.
I own the mill at 140 8th Street, Sagamore One Mill. We're planning on demolishing the mill and developing 4 industrial commercial buildings in that site. But let me go back to the history of how we got here. And on January 3rd, 2019, I purchased the mill from Pat Todd. We immediately hired LLB architects to come in and decide what we were going to do with this mill. Our first intent was to develop the mill into 146 apartments. At the time, if you recall, housing in the city was greatly needed, and we thought this would be a great application for the mill. Once we got an initial design, we ran into a couple of problems. Number one was parking. It didn't sound like we had enough parking to put in place. And another problem was the cost of development. We looked at this and we were looking at in excess of $20 million to restore that mill. Ms. Todd was very remiss in maintaining this mill. It needed a roof 20 years ago and she never put one on there. Consequently, water was pouring down through the mill, and causing substantial damage in the mill. All the brick on the outside, all the windows would have to be replaced, and all the brick on the outside would have to be repointed. And when we got cost estimates on what we wanted to do, we were talking about $20 million. And that was way out of my budget, and the return on investment would not have been there. We just couldn't do it. Consequently, our next alternative was to raise the building and to put up this project that we have designed that's ready to go. Presently, we have done a asbestos remediation study. We're having the asbestos removed from the property starting next week. And we would like to start demolition sometime in September. That's where we are with the project. Now, let me just say something to you, and I very much appreciate your position on the Historic Commission. I'm as much in favor of history of this city as anybody. I'm a Lizzie Borden fan, and I truly understand what you're going through. But I assure you, this building is way beyond repair. It's too bad that someone didn't take the motivation to restore this building or at least save it 20 years ago. Because at that time, the cost of renovation would have been a lot less. This mill differs from the other mills that you see renovating in the city, because this is not a granite mill, this is a red brick mill. And that red brick over 125 years has become very brittle, very soft. We have some structural problems there with the brick that's been noted to us from structural engineers. So given all this and the investment we're going to make in this property, which we see as an economic boom to the north end of the city, you know, this is the path we wish to take with this at this point in time. So we're open for questions. Jack is here. He's helped me. Jack is an associate of mine. I've hired him to work on the financial end of it. He's the one we're kind of dealing with our financial package, what our return on investment was, cap rates and things like that. And he's employed by me to do that. He's here to answer any questions you may have on the financial side of it, why the economic part of this package did not make any sense up front. No.
Thank you. Dwight really stated it very clearly. We tried to move heaven and earth to see if there was any way we could preserve the existing structure. You know, we're both history buffs, do a lot of things in Providence and whatnot that have had similar circumstances. But this particular property, the mill was in dire disrepair. We tried every variation we could, you know, on trying to generate some additional income from the structure, from even having storage units in the basement through every variation. And when we did the original costing, and this was with costs that since then, with our experience with doing the actual costing for the construction for the current project, at that point, pulling every income potential revenue stream that we could, the cap rate was 1%. And that was at a occupancy rate that would be deemed way aggressive today. I talked to 2 or 3 financial institutions that absolutely said we would have no interest whatsoever in pursuing this project. You're just not going to be able to get the capital to build the mill. So at this point, Dwight and I circled back and really discussed what could we do that would be in the spirit of when this mill was originally put in. What could we do to really resurrect that original intent with something that would be incredibly helpful to the town of Fall River? And we decided that we could raise the mill, but create an industrial park that would be the pride of southeastern Mass, if not the entire state. Kind of like an Apple-type facility that had never been done before, that the flexibility is astounding. Each building could have anywhere from 1 to 12 tenants, each one having separate exits and egresses and loading docks, why that's so beneficial to the town of Fall River, as we've all seen with what's happened with the pandemic and what's happening with commercial real estate, it is a totally different landscape, because a lot of the renters that are currently in space, they want to cut down. They don't want as much space as they had. And so what's happening across the country already is tenants are trying to break their leases to get significantly smaller spaces. The incredible design work Dwight and the architects have done is made this possibly the most flexible industrial park in New England. So it'll be very attractive. It will look like a high-tech facility. It will have cafes. It will have beautiful landscaping and parking. It will have walking trails for any of the workers so they can go out at lunchtime and work and whatnot. And it will be what we think is probably the strongest incubator influence in Fall River that you've ever had, because a startup can take 1,500 feet or they could take 40,000 square feet. We can tailor the space to how they are, and And in many respects, like a lot of the assisted living parks and whatnot, that can adjust to the current, the current status of the tenant, this is exactly that way. As they grow, we can reconfigure the space to support them. And, we're going to take some of the historical aspects and put them in the front lobbies and on the grounds and whatnot to, remember the original mills. We realize at one point there was 155 mills in Fall River, the most of any city in the world, and we know there's like 50 left. But we think this will preserve the spirit of it, create an incredible amount of tax revenue and jobs for the town, and we think there'll be a lot of national press on this because it will be one of the first ones of this type that was actually designed during the pandemic, and demolition will start right afterwards on the old mill, going from the old generation, the old way that business was done, to the new generation that generates all the jobs that we need right now. Is there any questions, or?
Is there anything currently in one Sagamore? Because I know there's a couple different, and there's like one Sagamore, three Sagamore, and I get confused because.
You all do. You own the project, I didn't realize it was Sagamore 1 mill.
Yeah.
I think Sagamore 2 was the one on North Main Street. I kinda
That's the one
speak
on
loud
North
anyway.
Main. I just wasn't sure because I know that there's, my aunt and uncle own a Fall River apparel group, and that's in one of them. So I'm just curious if there's
I think it's the
anything-
one across the street.
Okay, I thought so.
Actually, they were in favor of this project. The last time we met, we had people in that mill. The other problem we had there too is, since we started this project, several things have happened in that area. Star is going to build an opioid treatment facility, at least it looks like they're going to. We had a marijuana facility open up. We still have the Sagamore 2 mill, I think, across the street. I'm not sure what Sagamore mill that is. And then we have me on the south side, which I'm a mechanical contractor. And, is that really a good neighborhood to develop 146 apartments? We kind of doubt it. There was some talk about them building 156 units up on Weaver Street, a little bit further up, out of that neighborhood a little bit, So all these things contributed to where we are today. It wasn't for a lack of effort or imagination to try to do this. There has to be a return on the investment I'm making. I'm putting everything I have into this thing, and and we're going to hope it works. We're hoping that an organization, some health care provider, like South Coast, may want the whole facility. That's a possibility. Would it be nice to go drive in there and your heart doctor's there and your ear doctor's there and your foot doctor's there, rather than going to Bedford, Fall River, Swansea? And that we've had some introductory conversations with them, and there's been no commitments, but they're definitely interested in the project and what we're doing. That would be a big boom down there. So that's where we're at.
Have you got any rough drawings or sketches
I brought
of
them
your
last
design?
time. I would have brought them for you. I know, we actually had, you do? We have renderings of what the
That
project's
would
gonna look like.
be-
And I brought them last time. I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
we need them again this time.
Unfortunately, I was in Honduras when you were here last time, so it's,
I apologize. I
no,
should've
no,
brought the whole
no.
set of drawings. I could have.
I'm in error here. Is the structure going to be one level, one story?
levels.
2 levels. So you're going to be, are these 12, 14-foot ceilings, or what's the height of the building?
The first ceiling is 18 feet, and the second elevation's about 14 feet. It's about 32 feet overall to the peak of the roof.
Okay, and the facade of the facility?
It's going to be the metal panel buildings, the packed panel buildings. They're very nice. They've got the embossed. There'll be several colors to the buildings. So it'll be basically white with either a blue stripe or red stripe, depending on what building it is. We haven't picked out the colors yet. If you're familiar with that type of construction, it's a 36-inch panel. It's 3 inches thick. It's insulated panel. And we want a nice energy-efficient building as opposed to a corrugated metal building, which I hate with a passion. So we're going to pay the extra money to have the building constructed like that.
Are these going to be setting right on the ground or on
Yes,
some
they are.
sort of a foundation, right on grade level?
The thought process here, to bring you a little bit into the future, is if in fact we're going to have you know, over 55 housing developed on Weaver Street. Those people are gonna need services, they're gonna need cafes, laundromats, Dunkin' Donuts, I'm just reeling
Sure,
off things.
sure.
And the building that actually sits on A Street is gonna be designed with storefronts all the way down, which could be office space, it could be medical space, or restaurants. So we're hoping that that part of the city, which hasn't seen any development to speak of, will now become you know, an area that people wanna go to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but the state is replacing the Weaver Street Bridge,
Yes.
and they're also bringing in handicap sidewalks. And we've been in touch with them about that because their original plan conflicted with our plan for parking. So now they're talking about moving the sidewalks to the other side of the street.
Yeah, they're
So
gonna
we don't have
widen
a
the
conflict
roadway
between-
and. so-
Yeah, between
the
Provo Lane,
bridge,
A
the
Street,
bridge,
and Weaver
exactly.
Street, you know, on that, so.
Is there gonna be any, to coin a term that I guess is rather broad, any sort of historic presence when you're looking at the storefronts or on the back side, or on the, I guess, west side, that's facing the highway? Is there gonna be any, I don't know, a little bit of historic significance in there, just to make it blend more with the city, an older city?
I'm not sure how I would do that. We would certainly be, you know, willing to do something like that if there was an idea that would blend in with what we could do with the buildings we're building there.
Yeah.
Like Jack said, we have several common lobbies, and we thought we'd take maybe, I think there's a cornerstone that says 1895 or something.
Yeah.
We'd like to restore that, maybe some pictures of the mill within those lobby areas. Even a sign, because it's called Sagamore Landing, that's what we're calling the project, that shows the mill as Sagamore Landing. I don't know if you're aware of it, but that was actually a port at one time, a wharf that came to the back of my building, where they unloaded textiles. They loaded textiles up, you know, back in the 1800s.
Yeah, all of that is commendable, thank you for doing that. But I'm more concerned myself with the external portion of the building, because that's what's visual. That's what's visual for tourists driving in and out of the city. That's what's visual when people are running around the neighborhoods. And trying to keep that historic presence would really be beneficial to everyone, yourself. I mean, you got that historic culture. It doesn't have to be enormous, just a little something. Maybe just turning some of that panel in a vertical framework halfway up or at the top.
It does.
You know.
Actually, we do have a panel that goes across horizontally
Yeah.
in contrast to the vertical panels.
Yeah.
And we had thought also that possibly, you know, the entrance into the park, we could have some type of, possibly even using some of the old brick or whatnot,
Yeah.
to kind of carry over things. But,
Okay.
but we think it's important to kind of have it as a blend of the old
Yeah.
becomes the new.
I was actually gonna just say something about that, because I do some work with mass development, and we're trying to, like, I think it's important for us to always remember that manufacturing's in our history, but it's most certainly in our present, and a lot of people don't realize that we make a lot of luxury goods in this city.
Yep.
Maybe not always goods that our residents right now can afford, but it's still commendable that we're still doing niche products, and we're absolutely still definitely involved in the manufacturing of United States-made goods. So I think I personally, I think we should always hearken to the past, and I love that the name is Sagamore Landing. I was going to ask you that. And I think in any place that you can, that's a past that shouldn't be forgotten. But I definitely think we have a manufacturing future here.
Yes.
And from what it sounds like, you have been sensitive to the project, and this looks really, I mean, it's definitely futuristic, but I think, sometimes it's good to have some new.
You have to make it attractive to the tenants, too. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
and-
gonna wanna drive up to this thing, you're gonna wanna do that. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at it's a poor,
It is lovely.
we have several renderings, it's just
Oh,
that we
yeah,
don't have
that's
more.
just one I
And
have,
if you saw it in
the
full
old
size,
version.
and the building's gonna be very, very much like that. I'd like to address this gentleman's concern. I'm not sure how I do it, that's not my MO, being creative on that end, to say historic things. I don't know, if maybe in some of the, within some of the landscaping, we can, I don't know, I'm not sure. We can certainly speak to the architect and see if he can come up with some ideas to
Yeah, they're
do that.
very ingenious.
Cool.
There are ways to make modern buildings still fit in with historical areas. And one of the things that I think all of us see as an issue is that we have a master plan for the city. We also have a waterfront development plan, which that sits in that area. A Street sits in that area of the waterfront development plan. And in the plan itself, it says specifically, if new buildings are going up, they should fit in with the culture of the area around it. So if it's in a historical area, it shouldn't be a big, brand-new, modern-looking building. It should be something that's sensitive to the look of the buildings that
Which
surround
building,
it, so
Star
that,
Building, that's gonna be a modern
so
looking
that
building.
it blends. I haven't seen
Yeah,
anything
well,
from.
there's drawings out
Yeah,
there, and it
it's
was
right
published in the
next to
paper. And that's gonna be a modern building. I get what you're saying.
And, but
I really do.
that's also an issue, and what we don't understand is why the city lets plans like this always move forward without looking at the fact that the city has a master plan. They don't follow their own master plan. We have a planning board that doesn't follow the master plan, then they spend all this money, they have a waterfront development plan, and they're still going against it. And in my opinion, I think the project itself is great, the idea is great, I love everything about it, but that building does absolutely not fit in with that area. And to me, if it could be modified in some way to look a little more like the buildings that are around it. I know you can't make it look like an old mill, but they're building a new high school on Ellsbury Street.
I'm doing the job, I know.
So that building looks, when you look at that building, it's not gonna look like a big modern building. It really does
It's
have
also a
aspects of it that.
$263 million building. I
Right,
don't
but
have
it,
$263 million
but when you look at the building itself, you're not looking at it thinking, ooh, that's really modern, because it has features on it that sort of have character of that old style. And I think, personally,
It's really
That's-
understand, I'm not sure how we could incorporate that into the building. I said the purse is only so deep. I mean, certainly if there's small
We're
things
not-
we could do to make it be like that.
We are not anti-business, believe,
no,
we are pro.
absolutely not.
Well, it's
We
funny
are
you say that,
pro.
because I'm not even thinking that you're doing that.
Right.
But, you know, on the other, well, I get calls from urban development here in Fall River that encourage me to do this. They want this project, they want that to be done, and they're behind us 150% on the project. So we have the historic commission telling us one thing, and the urban development people telling us another thing, well, not another thing, but, you know, we want you to build this project, we see the value of the project, you know, tax dollars, jobs, you know, being able to have, like Jack says, an incubator for some small. I have in my building where I own on 8th Street, I have people knock on my door every day to see if they get ground floor space to rent, because when you think about it, we have very little ground floor space in Fall River to rent. You a lot of mill space, but not a lot of ground floor space.
Yep.
No, and we absolutely, I mean, personally, myself, I absolutely think it's a great project. I'm not saying I don't like the project. I think we need more things like that. My issue is, I think that buildings should be more sensitive to the buildings that are around it. And if you go by the city's master plan and you go by the waterfront development plan, they both say the same thing. And I
Well,
think,
And we're definitely listening to each of the inputs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
our,
we could do, one of the things we could do there is, we haven't tied the colors in. You think the back of the building was brick red?
You're reading my mind. One of the
That's-
things
Yes,
I was
that's-
going to,
That's really a no-cost item to us, and that's
one
not
of the
a
things
problem.
I was going to comment to you when was the color. You know, the historic color is not bright red, bright blue. I mean, those are beautiful, attractive colors, absolutely. However, if you take the facade or you take the building itself and use one of the more traditional, like you just mentioned, brick red or something of that nature, that's going to tone it down. I noticed the windows, ultra-modern windows. If we do something with the windows, I don't know exactly off the top of my head right now, because I'd have to look at a better set of drawings. But if you took the windows and became a little creative with the window installation, our primary goal as historic commission is to maintain more the exterior. What you want to do on the interior and bring that to the 21st century, that's great, that's wonderful, it should be. That's what draws the business, that's what keeps the business, that's what lets you make some money so you can expand and do more. That is wonderful. We're more concerned, though, right now, with keeping the look of the city more conventional. And I don't mind telling you that we told the mayor just Wednesday, I did. There's one hand in the right pocket, one in the left. And what happens is neither one ever sees the other one. So you never know what the right hand or the left hand is doing. And you're just citing some examples of that. And I don't mind it going on TV and broadcasting that, my friend. Things are hidden, things are done, we don't know, other departments, no one seems to know what's together. It would be nice to share thoughts.
Yep,
Okay?
no, it's true.
So we have to do what we're commissioned to do as a city representative, is to try and maintain the historic culture of a city. And that's what we'd like to do, and we'd love to work very hard with you and try and do that. And by all means, if you had a couple of drawings and you said, hey, Rick, would you come down here and look at this, and just, and not that I would be speaking for the board, but come on down and look at this and see if this is more in the style, the historic culture. I wouldn't mind at all going down
yeah.
and doing
Well,
that.
we would welcome that. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Going back to the windows, I'm thinking about what we could do. Maybe we could do a lattice work. I'm looking at the post office behind you, and maybe, you know, where, you say, I want you to understand, that's a rendering. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we have
A very
looked at
bad
windows,
contrast.
but if maybe we broke the windows up in a lattice work like those are, because the mills have the lattice work.
Sure.
in there,
Yeah.
you know, maybe we did that on the windows besides, you know, that would help that.
Absolutely,
along with
and
the brick
then,
color, you know?
and then downplay the color a little
about
bit.
big money changes here, you know?
Right,
Oh, yeah.
And I
exactly.
think this could be like, almost like a blueprint for other businesses who want to come in and do something, to see that you can marry those two things, the
Yep.
history and that character that we want to preserve. Because it is true, you let one thing go, another thing go, because it's like, well, if that happened, then I can do this building next to it. So I think
Right.
if there's a way to, and I
Sure.
really, it's
And-
kind of like music to our ears that you
and
even
the
are
lot
listening to us.
has a certain grade that goes down. So we had talked about, as far as landscaping features, like retaining walls and whatnot, we certainly can have them have a much more historical.
We don't have a lot of that, though. We don't have any retaining walls, but we do, and landscape is at a minimum because, but water retention, you know,
Yeah.
we're trying to corral the water and do what we have to do with stormwater. So we do have some of that, but
And I don't know if this is possible. I know the way your property is situated, it's pretty much centralized on the lot, right? So, but in many instances, a wall will be retained. And I'm not saying 200 feet, I'm not meant, but, you know, you retain some 50-foot section of the old building, and then support it.
It's
And
in
if
such
it's on the
horrible
I wish I could
property
tell you
line.
that would happen.
Right.
It's
the
a
way
safety
this has
hazard.
been laid out, the mill has to go.
That's
in
what
its
I was
entirety.
saying, you're too much in the middle, it's difficult,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's actually
But-
at the point where it's probably dangerous at some points, going up to the top of the floors, because the top floor, the top ceiling is really collapsing,
Yeah.
basically. We'd like
Well-
to, but we think, you know, taking your inputs and incorporating
Yeah.
some of them into more of a melding, we definitely, and we could talk to the architects and get some
Yeah, I mean, the
ideas.
things they're asking for, they're like, I said, changing the color of the building is not a big deal. And
Yeah.
like I said,
What
the
ab-
lattice work, they make it more look like the mill windows.
Mm-hmm.
What
That-
about,
That'll give you effect, and we kept the name, I mean, the Sagamore Landing
Yeah.
is kind of,
I like it.
from what we, you know, what
Mhm,
the origins of that property come from, you know, with the Sagamore Mills.
what if you had taken, like, if it's possible to take the bricks from the building and use that to make walkways, like connecting some
Yeah,
of the, I
brick
mean,
is so porous and soft, it's not
Is
a
it
good
wouldn't work?
application. They're gonna actually grind the brick up into a powder and get rid of it. We actually looked at that as probably using inside the building,
yeah.
and it's not recommended by, it's just a.
We
it's a
may
very-
be able to get similar looks,
Yeah.
though, when we do some of the
In
walkways.
those days, they didn't kill the bricks like they do today, you know?
Yeah.
The bricks were
No,
made
but even, like you said, like similar, I mean, even that, like having brick paths that kind of winds, because then you're pulling like the brick from the buildings around it, and even though it's not
Well, we could
necessarily
certainly
in
look
the
at
building, I
stamped
mean, there's,
concrete in a red brick.
Yeah.
Well, what I found, I have red brick in my own house, and the red brick doesn't last. It doesn't, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
Even when you lay them down, you know. But we could look at
no,
some
but just the
aspects
look
that.
of it, like maybe on
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
walkways, or
there's some
something
accents.
that, you know,
Hmm.
something that just pulls in from the buildings that are around
Well,
it.
you know, you said, it's funny you say that, because along the windows on A Street, there's a short section, and Prober Lane, there's a short section of below the windows. That could be done in a red brick fascia to make that look like, you know, give it more of that appeal to it, you know?
Mr. Silva, what's the total cost of your project, including remediation?
What's total cost now? About $12 million.
12 million? And that includes demo and?
Everything, yeah.
It's about just a little more than half of what it would have cost to
I've
try
already
to
put
make
I've
them
already
into
put $2 million into
residential.
the project.
The residential would have cost probably 20 to 22
Yeah,
million.
we had getting estimates of $22 million at one time.
Yeah. So you can see just and frankly, we think this new project will be significantly more beneficial to Fall River, you know.
I mean, it's such a
because-
high-cost project that, you know, to get tax credits, you'd really get like a pretty big bang for your buck applying for historic tax credits. So,
Absolutely, any guidance we can get from the commission
Well,
would be great.
we've been,
Well, we
you're
would
talking about
have to
tax
make-
credits on historic tax credits?
historic tax
Yeah,
credits.
we looked at those, and the value is really not there for us. We looked at that, and what we had to save within the building, and it's really not worth it to our while. And on the other aspect, we can also get tax credits in the construction we're doing. The state of Massachusetts, in their urban development, is offering, we can do all the civil work and not have to pay a dime of it back until we actually have the project up and running. There's several programs like that the state's offering us on the construction of the building that are very, very appeasable to us, that we're going to be pursuing on that. You know.
So, I missed the last meeting, I was away, but today you're looking for us to, you're here today to bring us up to date?
But we've had our 6-month period.
Yes.
And we're looking now to start demolition in September, and I guess we need the commission to sign off on that demolition.
Okay.
And what we can do, if it would be helpful, is take some of these inputs. We have to get our last updated set of renderings anyway, and why don't we send the commission those when they're ready?
I have Kristen's, you know. I think it's a great idea. These are really very little cost changes, very little cost to the project.
Yeah, we want to do everything we can to meld the past
The
with
project
the future.
into the
Yeah.
history. I get that.
I mean,
There's a limit here we can do. I mean, we'll do everything we can, you know.
right. We can't, ultimately, we can't stop you from taking the mill down. But our job as a commission is to try and save whatever we can, or at least make sure that the city is following its own
Oh,
guidelines with, you know, with respect to keeping areas historic looking, keeping that, the spirit of the area. So if there's a way that that can happen with your
Yeah.
building, then that's what, you know, that's what we would like to see.
I think it's too bad that we don't have the money to help the mill owners, not myself, but the previous mill owner, help preserve that mill. Had she taken the incentive, she didn't have the money, if she had
Right.
taken the incentive 20 years ago to put a roof on that building,
Yep.
we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
It'd be a whole different game.
And that's what
Because-
happens with a lot of the buildings, even city-owned buildings. The roof goes, they don't take care of the roof, and, you know, they get destroyed little by little, and we've seen that, and we're hoping that starts to turn around, because I think the city is more aware now of the fact that that happens, but we, you know, going forward, we have to learn from the past. Unfortunately, we're losing a lot of the buildings that we had, so.
Now-
If you want to come down to my office and we'll look at the drawings, I'll give you my card. I don't know if you know where I am, down on 8th Street.
I
I'm
know
right
where
next to
you
the
are.
project.
Yes, yeah, I would,
I would love you to come down, and please, we can even have you, if you like, you can sit in with the architect and ourselves, and if you have some suggestions, I'm more than happy to listen.
I think on our end too, that this could be a good case study for us to show other developers that we are
Yeah.
totally on board, and if other people are on board, we're here to help, we're here to advise about tax credits, and I think that is our main function. To your point, we can't stop people from doing anything really, but we are, there's so many.
That's not how I want to approach the
Yeah.
project.
Yeah,
That's not how I
of
want to do
course.
it. You know,
No,
I mean,
we understand that. Just the fact that you're sitting here having this conversation with us is huge,
And this
because
is
a
like what
lot
we
of
wanna
people
model
just
for other
won't,
people.
and I
We
think
wanna be
this
good
is
partners,
wonderful.
Good stewards
Yeah.
for the,
And we
City
wanna
Hall.
help you in whatever way we can, and especially, you know, in that
I
aspect.
understand your job is difficult, and I understand, I walk the Willow Grove Cemetery, and I'm amazed at headstones that are, 200 years old, and, this, you're right, you gotta have people like yourself who care about the city and
Yep.
keeping the historic value of the city. We can't make it a modernistic city without looking back at the history we have in the city, So I very much appreciate that, believe me.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more we could do. Believe me, we exhausted all ideas about what we could do with this building
Yeah.
and still make it economically
yeah.
feasible for
We,
us.
we
to do.
toured virtually every
Yeah, we actually did
project
tour
in
other
the
mills
city.
in the city. But as you notice, the granite mills stand up a lot better than the red brick ones do.
Yeah, they
know.
look better
We
too.
do.
It's, and we weren't pricing it to have basketball courts, a lot of the features that they're incorporating in these new ones. We wanted, middle of the road and premium 1 and 2 bedroom apartments for everyone. But, in the area, as Dwight had said, it's very difficult to command the rents that can make it viable. And we tried everything we could. So doing it this way, where if we can do everything we can to take your inputs and meld the past and the future together, we think it can be a real showplace, I think.
Is there anything that we need to do, like motion-wise, or just?
Nope.
just
I don't
Rick will
think
meet up
so.
with them?
No, just,
That's great.
yeah.
We're
It's
good?
all in your hands.
No,
Rick.
yeah, I think that's one, and I like the
Yeah,
fact that.
yeah,
that
I
Rick
would
can do
like to
that,
just
and-
go down and look at the drawings.
I welcome you.
You know,
Give me
I-
my business card and give me a call. We'll make a.
That would be
we'll make
great.
arrangements. I've got some time, and I'll be happy to sit with you.
Appreciate
And,
that.
oh,
I may
Not a
join you,
problem.
because I'm still off for the summer, so.
Good, let's do it.
Thank you so much.
And we promise we'll get you some better renderings soon.
Yeah, 'cause last time I came, I had all the renderings and all the drawings.
I
last
was
time came.
clearly running out of toner or something.
Ah,
I was wondering what that like overlay
Yeah.
was. I'm like, is
It
that just
actually
the air
kinda makes it
around
look
it, or?
Does someone actually have to sign the demolition permit? Is that how this works? No one's giving me any direction. You're on
No.
a list of things I have to get accomplished.
Yeah, all I need to do is just send a letter to the building department and let them know that your 6-month delay is up and
Okay.
that you can proceed.
But we're happy to work with you, and I mean that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and
value your
we
input.
really do appreciate you coming down here to have this conversation with us.
Well,
We-
thank you very
More
much
than
for
you
your
know,
time
we
and for
appreciate it.
listening to us.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
and
Thank
it's
you.
very encouraging that you're
Thank you.
doing this, thank you. Okay. Thanks, Dwight. Gotcha. It's a payday, yeah, right, okay.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go back to the agenda?
I motion to return back to the order of agenda.
Okay.
And I'll
motion-
second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, for correspondence, we received a letter from EBI Consulting for 502 Bedford Street telecommunications installation. I sent that to everyone. Did anybody have any issues with
No.
it? No, okay, then we don't need to do anything.
No.
We only need to
No.
write if anybody has an issue. Okay, so 650 Plymouth Avenue, Conlon School. I did receive an inquiry from the new owner. It was sold, Alex Silas sold it, and he did inquire, about what needs to be done for historic tax credits, so I just pointed him in the right direction. So just for future reference, they'll probably be coming to us for letters of support.
Who's the current owner?
You had to ask me that.
Sorry.
I can look it up if you want after, but,
So they're looking for the historic tax credits, is that?
they're probably going to be,
Yeah. Okay.
so. I mean, the building, as of right now, still looks really, really good. I didn't even know it was sold until he called, so. But anyway, I just wanted to put that on there because it was something that I received, so. Okay, Okay, did we, Carrie, do we have anybody sign up for citizen input? Oh, no, he's here for the other, yeah. Are you Chris? Okay.
Okay.
That's the next meeting.
Okay, so moving on. Notice of intent to demolish the Pilgrim Mill, 847 Pleasant Street, still standing.
Stands.
Still standing, we're still happy about that. So, 45 Morgan Street,
Yes.
the Borden School. I don't have an update as of right now. It is still standing. I know they were cleaning it out. The last thing that I heard is, it is still the one building in the city of all the buildings that were sold at that time, the only one that they cannot find the purchase and sale for, which is the big, question as to whether or not he went back on, what he agreed to do. So I'm not sure where it stands right now. As you remember, we did receive a letter from Leo Pelletier stating, that he had spoken personally to the owner and that he decided himself that there was no need to further discuss it, although we did ask to speak at a real estate committee meeting. We did go to the meeting, and he did not allow us to speak publicly at that meeting because he said that the owner wasn't there, so he wanted to give an opportunity to be there and to speak. And now, since he made that unilateral decision, we don't have the chance to speak publicly at the real estate committee meeting. And,
So what happens if that's not found? Is there like any, is that like not?
I don't know as of yet. I'm not sure. We certainly can reach out again to the real estate committee if we,
I mean, we're like records not at
Feel
that
that
time
there's-
digitized, or like, I'm not familiar, I mean, I'm not being like fresh.
That's
I'm
the
just-
only school that the PNS is missing.
Okay.
the only
Out
one.
of all the schools that were sold at the same time.
Yep.
And the administration at the time,
Connie, would you talk into the mic or loud? I can't hear you. I'm so
Sorry.
sorry. So sorry.
is it on? Can you hear me?
It is on.
Just gotta
Oh.
get closer.
So that, the administration at the time, at least it was signed by Will Flanagan, and that it's the only PNS out of all the schools that were sold and that were heard at the same time in front of the city council. It's the only PNS that's missing. So it leaves a bad taste. It sounds suspect.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but when I sign something or have something, there's always like an extra copy or something else, so not to have anything else, just is a little odd.
Well, plus the fact that, it was done by the city, so it's not, and all of the other ones are there, except for this one that's in question. And I think for me personally, I'm still bothered by the fact that we weren't allowed to speak at the real estate committee meeting, and then we were told that it was just gonna be dropped. So,
What does the current administration say about this?
They,
not,
Nothing?
not really anything.
It's been a while
The
since
mayor.
we've met, and it's been a while since we
The
talked
mayor
about
said he
this.
personally looked for the documents and was unable to locate them himself. He personally looked. So they mysteriously disappeared.
Yes. So we don't know, there's not really a whole lot else we can do, but we can try and reach out to the real estate committee meeting again. I don't know that it will make a difference at this point, but, because Leo Pelletier is still,
I mean, I think at the end of the day,
on it.
it would make a difference only if somebody on that side was also interested in, the preservation of the building or inquiring, but it seems like there's only like on the historic side, whether it be the Preservation Society, us, whomever, that we're looking into it. So, and you said, and it was signed off when Will Flanagan was mayor? Because I'm just, I don't know, I guess this is not like, if it were me, I'd be inquiring for those people who are still around, who are still, in the public eye. He's still around, I would just love to know what.
I also think Councilor Kilby was part of that negotiation.
I can't, what did you,
Kilby.
Kilby.
oh,
You couldn't hear me?
No.
Okay.
I think a
I
while.
don't think this thing is on.
I think a while back when we talked, when this first came up, I was trying to write down, and I don't, again, not knowing where to find this information, I was just curious who was on the council, like, who were the players at
If
that
you,
time? 'Cause they're
if you
still
go on
around.
the Preservation Society
Site.
webpage,
Mhm.
they have the whole entire timeline. It is
I know
so,
now we have
it
it.
is
I'm gonna
so
look into
well
that.
done.
It is.
Like, every single thing is there,
So
so
I'm just
it'll
curious, a
tell
lot of
you
those people are still
who,
involved,
when,
so-
where, why, how. It tells you everything. They did such a detailed job of it, and,
Well, at this point, I
like
think
all it-
we've made
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this almost every meeting
The
we've
state
had.
is involved.
Yeah. And it's our definite,
right.
interest in this has been noted, so I mean, other than that,
I mean,
I just hope that somebody else, who has authority is interested as well, and perhaps we can get to the bottom of this, I guess.
I'm not gonna take it off the agenda unless you all want me to, because the building is still standing, and I think it's still something that we need to keep our eye on and keep maybe the public's awareness of the fact that this is still going on, so.
Mhm.
I'm fine with that.
Perhaps share it on the site, the timeline.
Oh,
On the
we
Historic
should,
Commission
we should.
site.
Okay. Let me put that- Okay. Anything else about Borden? Okay. So we have 1 Weaver Street Historic Smokestack, so I did write the letter, and I did send the letter to the attorney, and it was sent certified mail, and we have not received a response yet. I thought we would by now, but we haven't, so, I have no update as of right now for that.
Was that they're already past that demolition, right? Are they, this is like way.
No, you,
With the smokestack?
the smokestack,
I feel
because,
like everything after COVID, my
Yep.
memory's erased, I'm sorry.
so when they filed, to do this in the first place, they, basically, they lied on the application, and they
Yes.
said that there were no historic structures remaining on the property, and the smokestack was there. So Mass Historical Commission gave the go-ahead, even though it was in error, because there was a historical structure on the property. So as far as I'm concerned, their 6-month demolition delay was invalid, and they need to reapply for another 6-month
Absolutely.
delay, and I will not sign off on anything because it was invalid. It's completely invalid. So, and I did send that letter to the lawyer, so he is aware, and the legal reasons why, and stated the
Yep.
precedent of why, and we have not heard back yet, so.
Okay.
So that's where that stands.
Stays on.
Okay, 19 Foster Street, we did receive a request for demo. It was not a historic property, it was not on the register, so I sent them a letter saying that it was not on the register.
Great.
Old business, so 1148 Duval Street, 201 Remington Ave, proposed structure to be built. So we did talk about this the last time, and we did send, well, Rick went to the meeting with our letter. He read the letter out loud. We talked about why we were opposed to this, so if you wanna just let
Well,
them know what happened.
very briefly, the chairman wouldn't, of the zoning board, would not read the letter because it wasn't received on time, and it was not stamped, et cetera, et cetera. So, he did allow me during their session, to just read the letter, which I did, and I read it verbatim. It, unfortunately, or fortunately, the the zoning board, I guess, review was just to allow them to do a design, or propose a design for a 12-story building. Now, according to the master plan for the city, it states very emphatically that we do not go above 6 stories. In this draft here, this letter, it states that it's going to become a big roadblock. What you're going to do is have 2 lots, because Commonwealth Landing is right there, which is a 5 or 6 story, and then you're going to have a 12-story put just adjacent to it. So they they went through it all, and the zoning board, I guess, Mr. Fiola, Ken Fiola, and Mr. Kenny from the planning board, both spoke in favor of the development. So they went ahead and approved the plan or proposal just to look at the building and come up with some conceptual design. So it was just to allow for a design, not for a building permit or not for a zoning approval at this point.
It
It
still
was
has to go
strictly
planning.
to allow a 12-story design in that location. They've still got to go through planning and other obstacles in order to get the building, or get a building approved.
But I think, I guess my issue there is, so Bill Kenny, who's the city planner, spoke in favor of this, and the city's waterfront development plan itself speaks to the fact that there should be no buildings over 6 stories. So you have the planning department going against their own city plans, which again makes absolutely no sense. So, we said it in the letter, and apparently it didn't. I don't
There
know.
were 3 groups opposing,
I'm sorry?
right? Wasn't there 3 groups opposing?
3 groups
of
opposed.
opposition?
Yeah, boy, for some reason, Earl, I can't hear you tonight.
Because of that
It's that
fan.
fan.
Well, it's on though, it is on though.
Yeah.
It's green.
These don't, if you talk into these, you don't hear anything. You can only hear like on Patty's. Like if I do this, it only goes to the, it goes to the TV feed.
Anyways, there were
Yours-
3
Oh.
letters of opposition, or 3 groups of
Yes,
opposition?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And it still
The others
passed.
were red.
Yes.
All of them were red except for ours, because it was supposedly sent in too late. But he did read the
Do you know who the other ones are
others.
offhand, or could I can?
Oh, boy, you're
It'd be
gonna,
worthwhile to watch it,
Okay.
watch the meeting,
Yeah.
because it was very interesting.
The Preservation Society was one that was opposed, and
and I
then
think the
also-
North
Green,
End Association
okay.
was the other.
Green Futures, no?
Pardon?
Wasn't it Green Futures? No?
It wasn't the North End neighborhood?
North End Neighborhood, but I
Yep.
thought Green Futures also.
Then that
I
would make 4.
don't remember that.
Yeah, that would make 4.
So let me ask a question. Have we ever, like, as a commission, thought about doing any op-eds or any like, well, in much in the way that the Preservation Society does, but just, and not speaking to any specific thing, but just like reiterating the fact, the actual fact that on the books, master plan, waterfront plan, 6 feet. Just like, you know, just, it's a fact that everybody's ignoring
And the urban plan is
and,
there.
and also
The urban
3
development
things.
plan.
So I'm just curious, because I mean, I want us to find a way that we can like, at least begin to do what we're here to do. But, it seems like everybody knows that there's, I mean, the people who are involved know that there's a cap, but nobody's following it. I don't know if maybe other people, like the citizens
I
might
don't know.
want to know.
I do plan to meet with Bill Kenny at some point in the
Mhm.
near future, to talk about some of these concerns.
Because
So-
let's put it this way, if you're gonna have those plans and you're not gonna follow them, then maybe it's time to update the plans. And maybe that, I
Or
mean,
stop spending millions of dollars on plans that you're not gonna follow.
It's simple, I don't know when those plans were made, I don't know, I'm sorry that I don't have that information, like, knowledge, but like, maybe they're out of date, maybe.
Well, the waterfront development plan was only a few years ago, and the urban
That's what I
development,
probably
the urban renewal plan was only a few years ago.
So, I mean,
And the
I mean,
master
were
plan,
they just done as placeholders, were they just done as generic placeholder docs, or are these actual real
they're
strategic,
pretty,
thoughtful?
they're pretty specific.
Well, I'm sure that they,
Yeah. But, I mean, the city's master plan goes to 2030. They never follow the master plan in the city. I mean, this has always been the big thing. They just don't follow.
It's 6:54.
Anyway, okay.
We need to move it along.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, new business, the cement bleachers at North Park, those were taken down. So now it's dirt graded. I'm not sure yet what's gonna happen with that, but we also have the North End Neighborhood Association CPA, plan for that, and I have to work with Mr. Gallagher on getting RFPs for that, so they can start.
Great.
So we had a meeting with Mayor Coogan, and you have a copy of what we talked about. It's exactly the same agenda that we spoke with him the first time. There was no need to update it because it was exactly the same issues because nothing had been, like, we hadn't moved forward on anything. And I know, you know, COVID and everything kind of put a damper on everything. So we reiterated again why all of these things are particularly important. More involvement with city departments, and we can see exactly why in the case we were just talking about. Support from the city administration involving plans for historic projects in the city, which we should be involved in and we're not. Talking about downtown and possibilities in revitalizing, but also historic preservation in the downtown area. Parks and cemeteries, we did talk to him about this again at the meeting, because we still have no committee member on there, and they were just going to appoint 2 new committee members, and at the last city council meeting, it was put on hold, I guess, because they didn't know enough about the 2 new appointees. And we had spoken with him in February about appointing Rick,
Yeah.
because there should be somebody from the historical commission, and he said, well, unless a 3rd position opens up, he already has his 2 picks.
Which I
So-
think the 2 new positions, one of them should have been
Absolutely.
Right, that's
forfeited,
my
you know,
point, and,
because you're supposed to be following that.
I mean,
but,
our parks are historic, and so if you don't have somebody with historic interests, then you can just do whatever you want in the parks, I guess.
3 parks, 2 cemeteries, several greens.
Greens.
And as we know, we already had a fiasco at one of the cemeteries where you had historic things being taken off the graves and destroyed. So that was the whole reason why somebody from the historical commission was put on the park board in the first place. And was removed when the
Well, it's
park
funny though
board
that those
representative
positions are
didn't.
so important to a point, but they don't even know enough about those people at the meeting to even vote on those people. So they're clearly not like specifically, you know, I'm
Right.
just putting it
I
out
know.
there that
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely think there needs to be somebody from the historic commission on the park commission.
Yes,
I can't believe that's
absolutely.
still just can't believe we're still having this conversation a year later though. But, you know,
And yet we are, and it's not even a year later. This goes back to when Mayor Correa was still in office, and I met with him and explained why, when he took our person off, why we needed to have a person back on there. And we still, so this is going back a couple of years already. Anyway, the merger of the Historical Commission and the District Commission, we explained why this needs to be done. This has been going on for over a year, why the 2 need to merge. So he said that he will make sure that Corporation Council works on this right away. All he has to do is look everything over. He has all of the paperwork. It just needs to be reviewed, it needs to be sent to ordinance, and then they vote it through, and that's really all.
Is there a follow-up
it
meeting to just follow up?
Not
Any
scheduled with him. It's just as, if and when we need one, then I'll call and schedule one. But, I mean, we have to give it a little time, so. And then we did talk about extending the demolition delay to 12 months. I don't know where that's gonna
I
go
thought it
as
was
of
an
right now,
ordinance,
but
right?
it
It's an
has, yeah,
ordinance.
it's ordinance, but we wanted to explain to him why it was important.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
anything else you wanna say?
No,
Okay.
you did a great job, thank you.
Okay. So, new business, discussion on dividing responsibilities and other commission meetings. So Rick had brought up a very good point about how, where he was talking about like one hand, one pocket, one in the other, and nobody's having any kind of conversations, and the fact that we don't get invited to the table to these meetings when there's historical issues on the agenda. So Rick thought, and I think that he is absolutely correct, we need to start going to these meetings ourselves. We need to start showing up and speaking up about issues. So we don't have to decide right now because we're missing 3 of our members, but just to,
And when we merge, like, that's when it really will be helpful, because once we
Right.
merge, we'll have a full board.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, right now, we're working with, here we are, 4 people. We're waiting on the next meeting, and then the next meeting even has less people.
Right.
So it's.
I think that's an incredible idea.
And the thing is,
though.
if we
Yeah, no,
merge,
I agree.
instead of people waiting to come and talk to us
Yes.
until the next meeting starts, we can do
crazy.
everything right
Yep,
away. And
yep,
we
yep.
did explain that to him as well, why we need to merge. But, we think it's very important to have, like, each one of us kind of assigned to oversee one particular group and either be at the meeting to speak or at least watch the meeting, take notes on what's going on, follow the agenda. So, Rick spoke with the assistant, the mayor's, assistant, and she is gonna send us on like, every month, the agendas for the different groups.
Eliana,
And then I'm
the
gonna,
new assistant.
Well,
Elena,
Elena.
yes, Elena.
Elena.
And she's gonna send that, and I'm gonna send it out to all of you so that we can see if there's anything on the agenda. Hey, this is
I
important,
think that's
one
a
of us
great
should
idea,
go.
honestly. I really do.
So, we're gonna, so at the next meeting, we can talk more about how we're gonna divide that up. But in the meantime, once I get these, I'm gonna send them out to you. And the last thing I have, I got a message last night, so I didn't even have time to put it on here. I'm just gonna read it. So it's from Al Lima. And he brought up the project with the Form Bs. Remember he had spoken to us about doing that project, about updating the Form Bs for historic properties in the Steep Brook neighborhood and some new Form Bs for the bioreserve area because there's nothing. And he wants the Historical Commission to submit that application. But he said he's willing to do the preliminary application because the eligibility application is coming up September 1st. And so I said, he wanted to come to the meeting, but because of
Yeah.
the COVID and everything, he's a little skeptical about doing that. So he's asking if it's possible for us to agree to submit an eligibility application before the deadline, and then we can discuss it after the fact. So I said my concern was just that, it would be a little difficult for us to be doing any of the legwork on this, and he said, he had contacted a few consultants and asked them what would be required of us to create the Form Bs, and he said, they basically said the historical commissions would be required to do little or nothing since the work would be performed by the consultants. So basically it's almost like the guidelines that are being done, there's kind of an oversight, but it's the consultant that does all of the work, and it would be the same thing for this, like they're getting funding to pay.
And only if CPA approves
Okay,
it.
if CPA approves, this is just to submit
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
application
Just the first step in the
for that,
process,
so he
absolutely.
just, yeah, so he just wants to,
Okay.
so, I mean, if you want, we can put this on the next agenda and formally vote on it, if there's an interest in doing that. I mean, I think it's a good idea, especially because, as we know, the only way that our historic district got created was to do these in the first place.
I think it is too, because that area, that whole north end there's a lot of open land, and
Yep.
people are, with this train finally, or whatever, finally coming, people are looking at that and they're trying to gobble it up, and we should get one step ahead of it, because
Right.
before you know it, there's gonna be people come and take chunks of it, and there
Yep.
goes the history. So, I mean, I think, wouldn't mind putting it on the agenda for next time,
Okay.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think, yeah,
Okay.
You
okay.
want that in the motion? To.
Oh,
to-
no, we
okay.
don't need to,
Agenda.
that's fine, because we're not voting on anything, it was just a last minute. He
Sure.
asked us to, if there was any interest, so that he would know kind of which
Sure.
direction to go with. So I'll let him know that we are interested, and we'll
Yes.
put him on the agenda for the next time, and then we
Mhm.
can have a formal vote, because we really can't
Mhm.
vote tonight, because it's not on the agenda. So, is there anything else for open discussion, or? Okay,
No.
can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn next meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion to adjourn, I have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone.
Next
Thank
meeting.
you.
And we will start, yes, we're gonna start the next meeting.
No, you didn't, announce the next meeting.
Oh,
Oh, no.
it's
When is the next meeting?
Tuesday, August 18th,
Yes.
okay,
Next
sorry.
meeting is Tuesday, August 18th.
Yes, our next meeting is Tuesday, August 18th.